Hello fanatics, welcome to Thursday and welcome to Thriller Thursday, no less. I am here with a true crime. Now, I sound a little deflated. This is for several reasons. First, I have just spent a good few hours talking about a crime and I deleted it on my phone. And I can't get it back. So I will come back to that case at another point. But this one has been requested because I have lost my other one. So I'm going to sit and do another one. Today I'm going to talk about the kidnapping of Shannon Matthews. Daniel suggested this in my group. I asked for suggestions out there and I said to him, Karen Matthews annoys me and I can't promise to be unbiased. And let's dive into the case. For people who don't know about Shannon Matthews, okay? On the 19th of February in 2008, Shannon Louise Matthews is a 9-year-old girl at this point in time. She was reported missing in Dewsbury in West Yorkshire. The search for her became a major missing person police operation, which was compared to the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. This was massive. I don't know anyone in the UK who didn't know about Shannon Matthews' disappearance. However, Shannon was found alive and well on the 14th of March in 2008. Just under a month, this 9-year-old girl was the concern of everyone around the UK. But she was found safe and alive and well on the 14th of March at Batley Car House, belonging to 39-year-old Michael Donovan. Now, Michael Donovan is the uncle of Craig Meehan, and Craig Meehan is the boyfriend of Karen Matthews, who is Shannon's mum. The kidnapping was planned by Karen and Donovan to generate money from publicity. Donovan, also known as Paul Drake, was to have eventually found Shannon, taken her to the police station and claimed the reward money, which would be split between Donovan and Karen, their mum. Donovan was charged with kidnapping and false imprisonment. Karen was charged with child neglect and perverting the course of justice on the 8th of April 2008. But before we get into that, I want to talk about the investigation and the subsequent arrests after that. So 9-year-old Shannon Matthews was seen at 3:10 on the 19th of February outside her school, Westmore Junior School, in Dewsbury Moor, after a visit to Dewsbury Sports Centre swimming pool. The school was about half a mile from her home. At 6:48 p.m, Karen Matthews rang the police to report her daughter missing after she had not returned home from school. West Yorkshire Police started the search, which eventually involved more than 200 officers. The investigation into her disappearance was led by Detective Superintendent Andy Brennan. West Yorkshire Police questioned 1,500 motorists, searched 3,000 houses, and by the 5th of March, more than 250 officers and 60 detectives were involved in the investigation. This is about 10% of the West Yorkshire Force's operational strength. It became the largest police investigation in West Yorkshire since the Yorkshire Ripper case 30 years previous. Of 27 specialist victim recovery dogs in the UK, 16 were involved in the search. That is an immense amount of police power that is ignoring other crimes coming in while they're looking for Shannon. And don't get me wrong, at this stage, the whole of the UK is on tenterhooks for poor Shannon. The Sun newspaper offered a reward of £20,000 for information leading to Shannon's safe return. It was increased to £50,000 on the 10th of March, by which time she had been missing for 20 days. A business in Huddersfield, 9 miles from Dewsbury, also offered £5,000. West Yorkshire Police created a webpage, Missing Shannon Matthews Appeal, and on the 7th of March released a photograph of Shannon on the website. The police released the recording of the 999 call made by Karen reporting the child's disappearance. I'm going to play it for you now.
Police emergency. I want to put daughter's missing, please. Right, how old is she? 9. Yeah. When did you last see her? She went to school this morning. Right, have there been any arguments or any? No, not at all. No. Have you been in touch with any of her friends or anybody like that? Everywhere I can think of, her friends-wise and family and everything. And nobody at all? No. Any information on where she can be? No. Does she go to school and come back on her own normally then? Yes. Right, so you expected her home off at 4 o'clock? About 3:30 where she's come back from groceries to work through. Does she have a mobile phone or anything like that? No, just right, so there's no way of actually ringing to find out. But you've run round all the friends, you've been in touch with all the relatives, and there's nowhere else that you've got left to look. No. Have you been in touch with the school? Can they confirm whether she went to school at normal time at 3:10? Right. What to call her? Shannon Matthews. Has she been missing before? No, first time. And there's been nothing to intimate why she should go? No.
An official website, Help Us Find Shannon, including the Shannon Matthews Appeal, was launched on the 11th of March. Both websites were removed after Shannon was found. A comparison was drawn between the publicity given to the disappearance of Madeleine McCann, a 3-year-old British girl who disappeared on holiday in Portugal in May 2007, and the much lower level of publicity for Shannon. Roy Greenslade, writing for the Guardian blog, explained, "Overarching everything is social class," but added that Shannon's disappearance in the UK made a difference. The Independent took the same line, saying, quote, "Kate and Jerry McCann had a lot. They were a couple of nice middle-class doctors on holiday in an upmarket resort. Karen Matthews is not as elegant nor as eloquent." The Times noted that the local community had pulled together, but that the hunt appeared less newsworthy than most minor developments in the search for the McCanns. The Brisbane Times said that Karen Matthews and Kate McCann represented two sides of social class coin in Britain. The Daily Telegraph speculated that had Shannon been part of a middle-class family in which articulate parents were conversant with mechanics of mobilising a slick public awareness campaign, then more public attention would have been focused on the effort to find her. I know we're going back a bit, but I remember it was everywhere. I don't think they could have done much more. It was everywhere. On the 7th of March, Karen said on ITV's GMTV, which is Good Morning in England, that she was certain that her 22-year-old boyfriend, Craig Meehan, was not involved in the kidnapping, and he, quote, would not hurt anybody. Craig was defended by Shannon's father, Leon Rose. Karen and Craig, in an interview on BBC Radio 4's Today programme on the 12th of March, were questioned about suggestions by her parents that Craig had been violent towards Shannon, and on Karen having 7 children by at least 5 fathers. 2 of the children were registered as having unknown fathers. Commenting on the interview, The Independent said that the case had developed a cruel overtone, that such questions went far beyond necessity and lifted the lid on an uncomfortable hypocrisy in British society. I do get where they're going with this. But as I say, as I remember, Shannon Matthews' picture was everywhere. And I'm quite away from Yorkshire. But let's get into the discovery, because this takes... I mean, these people must have been kicking themselves because they were saying about how they just must have been kicking themselves. I don't really want to get into it, because I will get into Karen Matthews herself. I will be playing clips along the way, and it's more for a refresher course for us who do remember this case, but also for... I don't know if this got to America. I don't know if America ever heard of Shannon Matthews. But yeah, let's carry on. Okay, so West Yorkshire Police found Shannon alive at 12:30 on the 14th of March 2008, 24 days after she went missing. She was concealed in the base of a divan bed in a flat in Lindgate Gardens. Michael Donovan, the 39-year-old tenant of the flat, was arrested at the scene. Shannon was placed under police protection and cared for by local social services. The police exercised powers under Section 46 of the Children's Act 1989, which allows a child to remain subject to police protection for 72 hours. She ceased to be subject to police protection on the 17th of March. Since then, she has remained in the care of Kirklees Family Services on a voluntary basis, meaning that Shannon wants to be there, I believe. I mean, I would rather be there, to be honest, in Shannon's shoes. On the 15th of March, the police reported that Shannon had begun to recover after her ordeal. Specially trained officers questioned her to establish what actually happened. The questioning, which lasted for several weeks, took place in 10-minute sessions at a special children's suite resembling a classroom. I mean, I can't even imagine. They have to do it in 10 minutes, I'm sure, because she was... Let's carry on. Donovan was charged with kidnapping, false imprisonment, and committing acts intended to pervert the course of justice on the 17th of March 2008. He appeared before Dewsbury magistrates on the 18th of March and was remanded in custody. He appeared at Leeds Crown Court via a video link from his prison cell on the 26th of March. The provisional trial date was fixed for the 11th of November. He made a suicide attempt on April the 6th. Craig Meehan was arrested on the 2nd of April on suspicion of possessing indecent images of children after police had examined computers in the home. He was remanded in custody by Dewsbury magistrates. At a hearing on April the 3rd, charged with 11 offences of possessing indecent images of children. On the 18th of April, Craig Meehan pleaded not guilty and elected to be tried by magistrate rather than by jury. On the 16th of September 2008, he was convicted by Dewsbury magistrates of 11 counts of possessing child pornography relating to 49 images of level 1, 2, 3 and 4 found on his computer after it was seized from the house that he lived in with Karen on Moorside Road. Now, I don't understand the different levels, nor do I wish to understand the different levels. But from 1 to 4, I'm putting that's pretty gruesome on its own. And he was in a house with 7 children, and she was claiming his innocence. I'm not saying she knew about this exactly. As a mum, I'd like to think she didn't, but as a mum, I wouldn't do what she's done either. So I shall leave that to the comments section. Please head there and let me know what you think. On the same day, he was sentenced to 20 weeks imprisonment, but was released as he had spent longer on remand than the length of the sentence. Karen was arrested on the 6th of April on suspicion of attempting to pervert the course of justice. She was charged with child neglect and perverting the course of justice on the 8th of April. At a hearing on the 5th of September 2008, she was also charged with kidnapping and false imprisonment. Okay, this bit is a little bit confusing, but stay with me. Amanda, who is Craig Meehan's sister, she was arrested on suspicion of assisting an offender on the 4th of April 2008. Craig Meehan's mum, Alice, who is also the sister of Michael Donovan, was arrested on suspicion of attempting to pervert the course of justice on the 4th of April. Amanda and Alice were released on police bail on the 4th of April, but were rearrested with Meehan's other sister, Caroline, on the 10th of April, held on suspicion of perverting the course of justice before being released on bail. They were all released without charge. However, Amanda was jailed the following year in an unrelated conviction for benefit fraud. I mean, this whole family is just a mess as it is. On the 8th of April, the police announced they were investigating approaches to the Madeline's fund for money to assist in the search of Shannon. Wow. Karen Matthews was remanded to face trial alongside Donovan in November 2008. Karen and Donovan were tried at Leeds Crown Court in November 2008. The trial heard evidence that Shannon had been drugged to subdue her whilst being held. The Daily Telegraph reported, quote, "The jury was told Shannon was drugged and restrained with a strap tied to a roof beam after her mother hatched a plan to make £50,000 from her faked kidnap." I just want to insert a clip here of her with the police officers once they knew she was involved.
So, why did you phone the police when you knew where she was?
So nobody suspected anything.
How would, by phoning the police, people not suspect you? What did you hope to achieve by that?
What do you mean by that?
Oh, you said I'd phone the police so nobody'd suspect anything. What do you mean?
I think it's okay, I didn't suspect me doing what we're doing for Shannon. I've been leaving him and stuff.
So this again was part of your act? To make it look like she was genuinely missing?
Yeah.
When you really knew that she wasn't genuinely missing? Is that right?
Yeah.
So then the police have come to your house, have they?
Yeah.
And what have you told the police?
Just told them what she was wearing and stuff like that.
Did you tell them where she was?
No.
Well, why not?
Not in front of everybody and everybody ever got me for it.
Yeah. Why didn't you tell them? I think the answer's in the question, isn't it? What she said. So why didn't you tell the police where she was at that time?
Because I didn't exactly know where she was. No, she was living somewhere, but I didn't know where.
It's really starting to grate on me, this episode, because as a mum, you would do anything to protect your children, and she has done all this for money. I mean, we could all do with more money, but I shall carry on. On the 13th of November, Detective Constable Mark Crudence and Detective Superintendent Andy Brennan gave evidence at Leeds Crown Court. A forensic toxicologist told the court that tests on Shannon's hair indicated that she had been given temazepam for up to 20 months before her disappearance. Temazepam is not a joke. Wow. 20 months, that's nearly 2 years before she disappeared. Donovan claimed that Karen Matthews had asked him to look after her daughter for several days, that they would make money from newspaper rewards. He told the court that she had threatened him with violence. On the 27th of November, Karen Matthews gave evidence. Sobbing throughout, probably because she got caught, she denied having anything to do with her daughter's disappearance, claiming that Meehan told her to, quote, take the blame for what had happened. I thought he was innocent, that's what she said earlier. She said she did so because she was scared of him. In cross-examination, Julian Goose, QC, said that she had told the police a total of 5 versions of the story and accused her of, quote, telling lie after lie after lie. On the 4th of December 2008, Karen Matthews and Michael Donovan were found guilty of kidnapping, false imprisonment and perverting the course of justice. The plan had been for Donovan to release Shannon at Dewsbury Market, drive around the corner to, quote, discover her, then take her to the police station and claim the £50,000 reward. This would be split between Donovan and Karen. On the 23rd of January 2009, both were sentenced to 8 years in prison by Mr. Justice McComb. Karen Matthews was released in April 2012 after serving half her sentence. That is an outrage in itself. Donovan had already been released. She reportedly moved to the south of the country where she is believed to be volunteering in a Christian charity shop, having turned to Christianity. But having been photographed by the press while in her probation house, she has since changed her identity completely. She is one of the most vilified women in the UK, and I totally see why. I think even people with no children are pretty angry at what she did. During the trial, the prosecution revealed that Shannon Matthews had been suffering from nightmares after the event and needed regular psychotherapy counselling. Shannon was later given a new identity and placed with a foster family. And I hope and pray that that poor little girl, well, she's not a poor little girl anymore. Hopefully she has found peace and put the blame where it belongs and is living a happy, fulfilled life right now. Post-trial media reaction. In the aftermath of the trial, revelations about the life that Shannon Matthews and her siblings had endured with their mother were widely highlighted and politicised by the media. The, quote, welfare state was heavily scrutinised. The Daily Telegraph described a, quote, dysfunctional family where children equalled benefits. A claim that was supported by Shannon's aunt, Julie Poskett. Writer Owen Jones later proposed in his 2011 book, Chavs. Really? That's a word I was going to use, but I chose against it. The demonisation of the working class for both the Conservative Party and those parts of the media traditionally supportive of its agenda. Quote, Karen Matthews had become a convenient political prop. That the case was cynically used to garner public support for the party's subsequent programme of austerity and cutbacks to spending on welfare. On the 16th of June 2010, a Kirklees Safeguarding Children's Board report found that social services could not have anticipated the abduction. It stated, quote, the serious case review concluded that the historical and current knowledge available to professionals involved with this family could not have led them to anticipate the third child's abduction from her home or her mother's involvement in this. The only way to have avoided her abduction was through her prior removal from home under a care order, and there is no evidence to suggest that this was warranted on the basis of professional knowledge about this case. And I don't think that anyone, especially in the beginning, suspected her. I mean, it's not your first thought when a child goes missing is that the mum's involved. But this is the case of Shannon Matthews. I'm going to insert another quick clip here about a newspaper article that came out saying that Karen Matthews, quote, "I'm not the worst mum. I'm not Britain's worst mum." I think she kind of is myself.
Daughter, my beautiful princess daughter, please bring her home safe.
From the distraught mother whose heartbreaking plight prompted sympathy the world over, to one of the most vilified women in Britain, Karen Matthews' fall from grace was dramatic. In one of the most notorious crimes of recent times, 10 years ago Matthews from Dewsbury was locked up for faking the kidnap of her own daughter, 9-year-old Shannon. Not only a case of unthinkable betrayal, it was also a crime which cost millions of pounds in police resources and tarnished the reputation of the Dewsbury Moor estate, perhaps for good. But today, Karen Matthews has claimed that the continued anger directed at her is unfair. Now out of prison and having been moved to the south of England for her own safety, in an interview with a national newspaper, Matthews continues to deny that she had anything to do with Shannon's disappearance and claims she doesn't deserve the abuse she's had. From those who worked on the case at the time, there's little sympathy.
Quite clearly she was behind what happened.
Jane Taylor-Barron was a detective who was involved in the investigation into Shannon's disappearance.
And I think the reason why it still gets so much interest is because of how she's presented herself and tried to portray herself as being innocent. Yet you look at how many different accounts she's put forward, all the lies that she's told throughout it. Clearly, this is just another lie.
In her newspaper interview, Matthews says that she's been made a scapegoat and adds, "None of it's true. I'm not Britain's worst mum. I didn't kill anyone. I'm scared I'll die, lonely and alone. But for the real victim at the heart of this case, they're likely to be seen as just more empty words."
Karen used the child as a pawn in what to her was for her own means. I think she knew exactly what she was doing, but I think the limelight and the attention that she was getting was actually what was steering her towards carrying on with the pretense that she didn't know where her daughter was, when all along she knew exactly where her daughter was.
So, we've gone through the history and everything else. So let's take a look at where she's headed in current day. And I'm afraid it doesn't get much better. Despite being found guilty of snatching Shannon and serving 4 years of an 8-year sentence, Karen shows little remorse and still refuses to accept she took any part in the plot to cash in on her daughter's abduction. Even though she's admitted it in police interviews, doesn't matter, she will not accept it. I have looked at various newspaper clippings over the years and I can't find one apology. It's all about her, how hard her life is. Never mind her kids that all went into care, and especially Shannon, who she drugged. Anyway, so Karen started in Peterborough prison before being moved to a jail in Derbyshire. She told a Mirror reporter that, quote, "only missed sex and shopping." Ugh. And spent the end of her sentence on F-wing with child killers. Is that all she missed? She doesn't miss her kids or anything, no. For over 2 years, she was visited by former neighbour Julie Bushby. Now, I should have mentioned her previously. She was the driving force in finding Shannon. She was out there, she was rallying the troops, she done an awful lot, and she must have felt so very betrayed and angry when all was said and done. But she was being visited by Julie, who was revealing details of Karen's life behind bars. Julie explained Karen had transformed her look, cutting her ginger hair short and dyeing it in the prison hairdressers. Her weight soared due to stuffing herself on a diet of crisps and chocolate, and she told Julie, quote, "I want to go on Jeremy Kyle and take a lie detector test." So for those of you in America, Jeremy Kyle, which is no longer aired due to a whole other drama, but he's like the English version of Jerry Springer. Karen would often appear with black eyes during visits and claimed that she was being attacked by fellow inmates at least 6 times. Quote, "When I was first in jail, I thought I was going to die. I panicked," she told the Mirror in 2018. "They were banging on my cell door, saying, 'Come out here, you dirty,'" don't know if I can say that word on YouTube, but, literally, a pedo. "Prison made me weaker. I don't feel like the same person anymore. I was beaten up inside because of who I was. Once they threw a snowball with a rock in it at me, and other times I was punched. I didn't say anything. I was too scared." During her time behind bars, she was exposed for a get-rich-quick scheme, writing sexually explicit letters to male admirers from prison. Karen looked very different to this by the time she was released. After serving half of her 8-year sentence, she was released from prison in April 2012. She moved hundreds of miles away from her home and adopted a new surname. Probation chiefs told the stringent measures needed to protect her on the outside from revenge attacks. Assistant General Secretary of Probation Union, NAPO, Harry Fletcher said, quote, "Because of her notoriety, measures will be taken to protect her from threats." He also said that she can never go back to the estate in Dewsbury Moor, West Yorkshire, where she lived at the time when Shannon was snatched. Karen said she turned to a Bible group as she spiralled into a life of miserable loneliness after being cut off from her family and friends. Turning to God in a bid to turn her life around, Karen became a teetotaler and said that she prayed every day to lift her spirits. Karen claimed her notoriety left her unable to get a job and leaving her forced to survive on £25 a week. The former factory cleaner wanted plastic surgery to stop her being abused on the street and moaned that benefits made her life horrible. Her word. Without any hint of remorse over the sick kidnap, she pointed to other vile criminals to justify her claim that she should not be branded evil. Speaking out for herself for the first time in an interview with the Mirror in 2018, she said, "I'm not Britain's worst mum. I didn't kill anybody. None of it's true. I'm on the edge. It makes me want to kill myself, but I'd never do that. I'm scared I'll die lonely." Sources close to Karen claimed she started targeting older males after leaving prison. She is said to have posted profiles on websites for women seeking financial arrangements with men. Then in May 2018, she found a 72-year-old sugar daddy, Eric Anderson, and to shower her with money and gifts to fund a lavish lifestyle. I mean, must be really lavish on £25 a week. Eric, a self-proclaimed devout Christian, is said to have helped kit out her state-funded flat with top-of-the-range appliances and super-fast internet. One source said, quote, "She has an impressive lifestyle for someone who's been in prison for arranging the kidnap of her own child. She puts on a good show about having changed, but the truth is different. You would think she would be destitute given her past, but she has somehow found a way to live a very nice life. She had friends over for a party and there was apparently champagne and canapes. It certainly wasn't on a budget. She has a huge flat screen TV and a Samsung Galaxy 8 smartphone that she flashes about." Eric declined to comment on whether the relationship was sexual, but admitted giving Matthews, quote, "care and support and teaching her about love. It's my Christian duty to explain what love is about," he said. "She has concerns. She is a person of need, and whatever that is, if people cross my path, I will care and support." Karen denied there was any sex involved in her relationship with Eric, who she's described as a father figure. Denying anything romantic, Karen admitted she was friends with the pensioner and is given money to help her out. "I have standards." Does she? Sorry, back to the quote. "I have standards. I'm very lonely and I found a friend who I thought I could trust. A true friend," she told the Mirror. "He got the money from some inheritance and said he wanted to help me out because I'm struggling. He's like a father figure to me, like an uncle. There's no sex involved. I've known him for years. Eric takes me for coffee and KFC and tells me not to go with the nasty men I have met and not to be taken advantage of." Karen claimed she had sworn off men, would never get married, and was trying to get her life back on track. Karen landed a job as a carer but was sacked in June 2019 amid a row over her conduct. An elderly couple took pity on her after meeting at church and employed her to cook and clean after the frail wife had a hospital stay and was unable to care for herself. Karen was picked up by the couple each morning from her 2-bed council house and driven 15 minutes to their home. But just weeks later, Karen was no longer employed after it was claimed the wife became suspicious. The pensioner was said to have fallen out with Karen over fears of her friendship with her husband was becoming too close. The man said the relationship was an innocent platonic friendship but confirmed she no longer worked for them. A source close to the couple said, quote, "They know what she did but gave her a second chance. They paid her to come round every day to help care for the woman and do the housework. At first things were great and they were glad of the help in the house, but soon things became tense. He is still trying to do right by Karen and would like to be her friend, but no longer works for them because of what happened." Karen then began volunteering at a Christian charity shop. After years of loneliness, Karen began dating handyman Paul Saunders after he did odd jobs for her at her home. They were engaged over Christmas 2019 after a whirlwind 6-week romance, but reportedly briefly split up after news of his background emerged, which she was unaware of. Saunders was jailed for 5 years in 2010 for sexually abusing a 15-year-old girl. Since getting together with Saunders, Karen cut ties with all her pals who disapproved of her new love. Wonder why? One former friend said, quote, "She's pathetic. She's chosen a pedo over her family and friends. She says she loves him and she doesn't want to be alone." In February 2020, it was reported that Karen planned to use a surrogate to have a baby with a paedophile partner. One pal said, quote, "She wants to be a mummy again. Her feelings are no one can stop her despite what has happened in the past, and it's her decision." In April 2020, it was claimed the surrogate was pregnant after sleeping with Saunders, having got Karen's blessing. A source told the Daily Star, quote, "Karen is over the moon. She is desperate to have a little baby to raise again." When they got the call, she couldn't believe it, but the surrogate did another test just to be on the safe side. There has been no further news since as to whether the baby has been born. The last time Karen was spotted, it was in December last year, helping Saunders flat hunting while clutching a bottle of Prosecco. Yeah, so that is where her life is. I have no words, guys. I mean, I am absolutely speechless because, I mean, what a mess. And I know from experience, in my past, in my deepest depression, I shacked up with wrong-uns, but they were far, far, far from, I mean, they treated me badly. They weren't paedophiles or criminals or anything of that calibre. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. Please leave me comments down below. Let me know what you think of this whole episode. Yeah, and I'll be back next week with another depraved individual. I think it's going to be a while before we get to, I mean, she's up there, isn't she? It's horrific. Absolutely horrific. She is just car crash. But I hope, Shannon, wherever you are, I hope you are living a full life, a happy life. I really do. Thank you so much for joining me, guys, and I shall see you next week. Stay safe out there. Bye.